if anybody's not familiar, Amazon has not paid taxes in 2 years.
Well, federal taxes.
Federal
Gotta
taxes.
be clear.
Yes.
They have not paid federal taxes in 2 years, right? So you look at that and you say, how? They made $11 billion. $11 billion last year?
Yeah, they doubled their profits last
Yeah.
year, so they went 11 billion.
They made $11 billion. Not only did they not pay taxes, they got 150 some odd dollars back.
Yeah, $136 million tax refund. Yeah.
So they actually was negative 1%
Yes.
in the amount of taxes that they paid
Amazing.
for the second year in a row. It's even deeper than that. For the last 10 years, they have a combined tax rate of 3%.
3%, yes.
For the last 10 years, federal tax rate. So everybody's asking me, how?
How is this possible?
How is this possible, right?
Yeah. All right, so we researched and found out there are 3 ways that this is possible. All right, the first one is stock-based employee compensation.
But before we even go into that, it's very complicated, but it really is 3 ways, right?
Yeah.
There's credits, rebates, and loopholes, right? So nobody really knows exactly what Amazon did because they didn't make their taxes public.
This is a suggestion.
So this is all just kind of speculation based off of it.
Yeah.
But within the credits, rebates, loopholes that big corporations get, there's 3 items.
3
right?
items that they're thinking this is what happened here.
All right.
So the first one was stock-based employee compensation. Rather than employees getting a salary, they get stock options. All right, and they think that 1.1 billion of the deductions came from that. The second one was deferred income tax.
But before we go, deferred, so stock options. We can't just people might not know what that is, right?
Right, we're going to go into detail. So we're going to go into detail about all of them.
Okay.
All right, so that's the first one, deferred income tax. So these large companies, like you'll find out that they can put off their taxes from a year to the next year. I think going forward, you said 20 years maybe? Almost, right?
They have a loss.
Right? And then the third one was tax credits. So I believe Amazon can expense over almost 100% of their capital investments. So that means things that they, new infrastructure, new buildings, new warehouses, new ways to deliver, they can write all that off.
It's called CapEx, capital
CapEx,
expenditures.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
And all right, okay. So now let's start. There's also one more, but we'll talk about that later on.
Yeah.
But stock options, right? For people who aren't familiar with stock options are, Ms. Business, do you want to kind of?
I can elaborate on that. So when you get hired at a company can, instead of giving you a salary or giving you some sort of compensation, they'll compensate you in the form of stocks, right? So they'll give you some sort of equity share in their company. So when Amazon will give their employees stock-based compensation, what happens is they are able to write that the 100% market value of that stock off on their taxes. So let's just say hypothetically, they have $100 million in stock-based compensation that they offer to their employees. That whole $100 million is now going to be able to be written off. So that's how they're able to deduct that additional pay that they're allocating out to their employees through that stock-based compensation. And they're more willing to do that because it is a tax write-off.
Okay. The stock-based,
clever move.
Stock-based compensation
move.
or stock options, it's called a different name, but it's the same thing. So they actually saved $1 billion for that. And that was half of their tax liability with just that.
Yeah.
So just in paying employees, executives, company stock, they were able to save $1 billion on their tax bill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now you have that. Then you have also CapEx, right? Capital expenditures.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that?
I'll talk about it.
All right.
Yeah.
So with capital expenditures now, with the new Job Act after Trump, now before you would have to depreciate your capital expenditures over a specific amount of time depending on what you were investing in. However, now in 2018, if you invested in any type of capital expenditures for your business, you are able to write 100% off in the year in which you incur that expense, right? So now when Amazon is, releasing new infrastructure, or they are, deciding to open up a new warehouse, that's now a 100% write-off. They no longer have to recognize that years down the line. They can do it 100% in 2018. right?
So that's important because that's something
super
that
important.
just changed, right?
Yes, that just changed.
So now you can write off 100% of your capital expenditures.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure there's gray areas that you can.
We're trying to find some loopholes in the IRS.
Yes. So then, all right. So capital expenditures 100%. So now we have two.
Yeah.
What was the other one you said?
We said deferred income tax. So, and with their setup, right,
Yeah,
they can defer
so-
their payments, right?
Yeah, so there's deferred tax payments. So what happens with corporations if you have the option to defer your tax payments? So what that means from a 2017 perspective to 2018 is in 2017 they held off on some income that they decided to pay taxes on, and they paid for it in 2018. And what that means from a percentage perspective is last year corporate tax rate was at 35%, and now in 2018 it's at 21%. So
That's a huge drop.
That's a huge drop,
Yeah,
right?
So,
So now
Amazon was probably licking their chops.
yeah,
like,
Amazon,
oh my.
their CPAs over there was like, listen, we're gonna hold back on,
Let's just wait on this.
on paying taxes on this money, and we'll claim it next year and then pay taxes on it next year.
So how many years can go in between you doing that? Can you? I think is it 2 years you can go back, or 20 years? How does that work?
So when it comes to things like research and development, any type of losses, you can go back 2 years or carry it forward 20 years. So that's just saying, which is, it is what it is. It's the law.
Yeah.
But we can't do that, right? We can't say, hey, I have a loss this year. Go back to my prior year taxes and add that loss to my prior year taxes 2 years ago and then give me some money back, right? And so that's what's happening with these corporations, and that's how they're able to either not pay tax in the current years or even go back to prior years and say, hey, I need some more of that money back that I gave you guys.
So it's speculated that Donald Trump hasn't paid tax in 20 years, right?
Absolutely.
So this is what we're referring to when in this situation?
Well, I think with Donald Trump, there's a lot of different things when it comes to Donald Trump, like not paying taxes. Donald Trump lobby. So when you are a big company, you have great economic value, you do receive a lot of tax breaks. And so throughout Donald Trump's career, he has fought extensively and been given a lot of breaks. Even back in the 80s when New York wasn't as developed as it is now, it was more as an incentive for him to, build up certain communities, just how it is now with like the Opportunities Act, right? Like if you take your capital gains and you put it inside of this fund, you won't have to, you can defer your taxes. The same thing that he's been doing, right? And I think also he's doing the same thing that the rest of these corporations are doing. He's deferring his taxes. He probably has so many expenses, so many loopholes that he's taking advantage of.
Yeah, no, it's important to keep in mind that, like you said, Amazon's not the only one, right? So out of Fortune 500, the top Fortune 500 companies, 100 companies paid zero tax or negative tax.
Not an isolated issue.
100.
It's not isolated.
And out of 100, 58 had multiple years of zero or negative taxes that they paid. So Amazon's just doing what everybody else is doing.
So one of the things that people were saying on our page was, should we be mad at Amazon for doing this, or should we take the initiative to find out how we can also benefit from these type of loopholes?
You can't.
The reality is, and I try to talk to, it's
ahead,
funny that you said it so bluntly like that,
tell 'em why.
because, me personally, I'm never mad at anyone for taking advantage of things that are available to them, right? Because the laws are out there. Amazon did not create the laws. Amazon is just playing by the same laws that all of these corporations have been playing by for forever, right? And I try to communicate that to my clients all the time, where I'm like, wealthy people are doing the work, right? That they need to. They're educating themselves.
Yep.
They are, getting out there, whether it's forming a fund or it's knowing your tax code or just being aware of what you can do and then using that to your advantage. That's what you need to do. But to Rashad's point about just not being able to do it, that's the reality. And these companies like the Amazons, the Netflix, these companies have great economic value. So therefore, they're able to take advantage of a lot of these tax loopholes. And you better believe that Amazon has all type of tax attorneys
Oh, yeah.
that's in court right now, right? So a lot of people, they don't want to pay taxes, but y'all don't really want these problems.
Can't afford these problems.
You can't afford these
Can't
problems,
afford these
you know?
problems.
Like, just pay your taxes. But on a serious note, there are some things that, business owners can do. They're looking to pay negative taxes. 9 times out of 10 not gonna happen, right? Or they're looking to pay no taxes at all. That's not gonna happen. Your company doesn't have that same economic benefit. Like Amazon is like the biggest company in the world. It's like
You're not Amazon.
you can't take Amazon.
Yeah.
You only want to play with Amazon a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Because they have so much value.
There's levels.